They say that only the good die young. You know what? Sometimes the good also stay quiet. They let life pass by unnoticed, not because they're weak, but because they're strong enough to know that sometimes the best way to change the world is to not be in its way. Our culture worships loud, flashy heroes. The problem is that in the noise, we miss the quiet ones. Those whose strength isn't measured in how many trophies they have, but in how many people they've helped become better. I have two stories. Neither of them are mine to tell, but I can't not tell them because nobody else will. And so I hope that in listening to these stories, you'll come to understand why sometimes quiet is the most powerful kind of strength there is. The first story is about a man named David. He was an ordinary guy who worked an ordinary job, but he had an extraordinary family, a wife and a daughter with a rare medical condition. Now, every day after work, David would go straight to the hospital. He would sit by his daughter's bedside, reading her favorite books, singing her favorite songs, even though he didn't know any of them. He did it because being a good father meant being a good husband, meant being there for the people he loved. That's what made him extraordinary, not some special power or skill, just his willingness to put his daughter's needs before his own. Now, this went on for months, years really, until one day David was diagnosed with a terminal illness himself. The irony was cruel, wasn't it? The man who had spent so much time saving other people's lives was now facing the fact that he would not be able to save his own daughters. Did he complain? No. Did he ask why? No. David's strength wasn't in his voice, it was in his quiet dignity, his humility. He accepted his fate, made peace with it, and in the little time he had left, he decided to do what he could, which mostly meant just being there for his daughter, telling her stories about the brave knight who wasn't afraid of dragons, not because he wasn't scared of dragons, but because he knew that true bravery wasn't about not being scared, but about doing what needed to be done anyway. After David died, his wife put his medals on his daughter's bedside table, told her that those were for her, for being the bravest girl she knew. His daughter, looking at the medals, asked, "But why?" Her mother held her close and said, "Because Daddy was a hero, sweetheart. Not all heroes wear capes or shout about their victories. Sometimes the quietest people make the loudest impact." And that brings me to the second story. There was a teacher who dedicated her life to shaping young minds. She taught literature, history, and most importantly, life. Her students would fill her classroom, not with noise, but with questions. Why does this character make that decision? What do you think this quote means? How did that event change the world? You see, the thing about great teachers is that they don't just give you answers. They teach you how to find them for yourself. They guide you, mentor you, push you to be better, not because they need you to prove them right, but because they know that you have something special inside you, something worth sharing with the world. This teacher wasn't different. She saw that in each of her students. But unlike most teachers, she never sought recognition for it. She didn't care about awards or accolades. She found joy in the small things, like seeing her students engage in class or receiving a thank you note for helping them understand a difficult concept. For her, the quietest sound was the best, the sound of a mind being challenged and expanded. You see, true strength isn't about being the loudest or the strongest. It's about knowing that sometimes the greatest impact is made not with a bang, but with a whisper. It's about recognizing that the quietest voices can be the most powerful. It's about appreciating the people in our lives who may not be the loudest, but whose strength and wisdom we admire. It's about understanding that humility and quiet strength are often the foundation of true greatness. So the next time you hear someone boasting or showing off, remember David and the teacher. Their quiet strength changed lives without them needing to shout about it. And maybe, just maybe, you have that kind of power too, to inspire, to help, to love, to listen, to be there. Because in a world that often values what's loud and flashy, it's the quietest among us who make the most lasting impact.